Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Weiner. I'm from Bethesda, Maryland, and I work in communications. And during this expedition, my role was to interview survivors of the earthquake as part of the storytelling process. Maybe we could do some quick introductions before we get started. So I'm going to hand it over to Kishan to introduce himself.
Hi from India. I'm Kishan. I'm a literature student, English literature student, and last year the organizers Immerse In came to talk to the college that I study in. They wanted to talk to the students of my college, and I really fascinated by their story and started following them. I had no clue that I might end up doing a research project with them in my own city. So it was like so unexpected and I feel very privileged to and honored to be part of this concept. And yes, that was very unexpected and I feel very good to be here. Thank you, Michelle.
Great. Thanks, Kishan. And Shivani, can you say a few words about yourself?
Sure. Hi from India. I'm Shivani Rathod. I'm master's student and an English teacher in local high school. And it's really very good to be here today. And I just want to tell a few words that how it started. And as Kishan said, it was completely unbelievable. Same for me. And yeah, it's really good to be here.
Great. Thanks, Shivani. And so Kishan and Shivani, I'm really interested to know, what were your first impressions when you heard that there was going to be a group of 6 Americans coming to Bhuj to come and learn more about an earthquake that happened nearly 20 years ago?
I'm a huge fan of Hollywood cinema and American series, so it was dreamy, first of all, to see 6 Americans coming to my city, and I'm gonna meet them and talk to them personally. So I was so excited to go receive them on the airport, and I was imagining myself talking to them and let myself comprehend their accents. And they were all so supportive they were adjusting themselves to make us comfortable. They were speaking and comforting us from in the whole expedition, and that was the dreamy experience, I can say. I had never expected to experience that in my very own city.
And Kishan, I understand you're a big fan of Friends. So when we arrived, were we kind of what you expected? Was Phoebe and Chandler and all of the characters there?
Yes, it was very close than I ever imagined I could ever be, and I really connected to each of the participants, and yes.
How about you, Shivani? What were your thoughts when you heard that a group of 6 Americans were coming to Bhuj?
First of all, I've never ever talked to any foreigner. So it was like, okay, I'll get to talk to Americans. There will be Americans, we'll be talking, they'll be sharing stories and all. And it was like, first I thought it will be difficult, but then really the organizers and of course all of the team members, they supported very well. And when I went to airport to receive team members, it was very pleasant to see them here and to be the host and welcome them to Bhuj.
It was even our first town to airport,
Yeah.
Oh, really?
We went to the airport, yes.
I have to tell you, so I arrived by train with 3 other participants, and I remember getting off that train I was really nervous because I was like, oh man, I've been in this situation before. There's always an issue that comes up. We're probably going to be here a while. It's going to take a while to connect. And I walked out and saw the two of you with this sign for us, and it was so exciting. And it was hot, and we were all sweating, and we had our backpacks, and we couldn't wait for a shower. And the two of you had on these big winter jackets, and you were all bundled up. And it made quite an impression on me to see the two of you kind of ride off in the motorbike as we loaded up into a van and went to our homestay. So it was definitely made a great impression. So I want to know, as you were continuing to work with us and to interview the survivors of the earthquake, what did you find to be the biggest challenge?
We faced a few of the survivors who said that it was 20 years ago. So what's the point of this? Why do you want to interview us now? Now, what is the point? Why do you want to remember all the sufferings that we have faced in the past? So it was a little bit unexpected reaction from them for us. And the first story me and Shivani visited was Harish Parekh. His left hand was cut off, and we never interviewed anyone before that interview, and me and Shivani has no idea what is going to happen the moment we step in his shop. And at the end, me and Shivani, we both were ended up wetting our eyes, and Shivani was almost crying. And it was the first interview, and we were like, what is going to happen in the rest of the interviews? We have a lot of interviews coming up. This was the first one, so it was a little bit, yeah.
And was this during kind of the pre-interview segment that the two of you did first to kind of get to know the different participants and subjects who we would be interviewing?
Yes. We were expecting, and we had a training session with the organizer, Shilpa and Akshat. This is before they came to India, but we had training sessions with Shilpa ma'am, as it would make us comfortable with the American accent. So we had a training session before the actual event.
And as you continued on with all of these interviews, and you were talking to the different subjects, what kind of made the biggest impression, and what changed the most for you after the trip?
Okay, so the biggest observation and realization that I had was, suppose this is the center of Kutch, this is where I live, and we saw a picture of Mayaba with her daughter. So she lives here, suppose, and there is a person, the survivor we interviewed was Shivani Shah. She came from a wealthy family. She has a big bungalow, and she was also a survivor, and we interviewed them. So we were divided into two teams. When one team was interviewing Mayaba, the other team was interviewing Shivani Shah. So it was hard for me to comprehend that I have been living in Bhuj for 20 years, and there is a family who, like Shivani Shah, who is living with in this way with with a good economic condition, and there is a family like Mayaba, and I live in the center. I had no idea. I would have never known that this is the condition of my city. There is a Mayaba living with a daughter, and there is Shivani Shah with her whole family and her economic support. So it was the biggest observation and realization that I had after the expedition.
Yeah, to realize and kind of be confronted with those economic disparities that you hadn't realized kind of existed.
Yes.
How about you, Shivani? In a way, this was a really personal experience for you. Your aunt was actually one of the subjects who we interviewed. What was your impression, and what kind of changed for you after the trip?
My aunt, Raksha Rathod, she was interviewed, and I was not knowing about her this much, that her life was going through such hell, and I really got to know many stories, and I made friends with such inspiring women. And another story, meanwhile, I want to share is of Chandni, who was our rickshaw driver, the tuk-tuk driver, and she is the first female tuk-tuk driver in Kutch. So, and living in Kutch, living in Bhuj for past 20 years, I have never seen her. So it was like, yeah, thanks to this project, I got to see her. And if I talk more about my aunt, um I never talked with her about this particular thing. And when she shared everything with me, now after knowing everything about her, whenever I meet her, I look differently, that resilience, the soul of our project. So, yeah, she is very strong
Yeah.
in my eye.
Absolutely. It was really amazing to be able to watch you experience that firsthand and to learn like, hey, everything we are learning right now, you are also learning right now. That made a huge impression on me. I think for me, some of the biggest things that changed were it gave me a new perspective on what is important and, what resilience really means. I remember the day after, the first day I arrived back to work after I was traveling, there was a big organizational announcement that came out. And I started to report to a different manager, and there were a lot of impacts across the organization. And I had a meeting with my boss that day, and he's like, how can you're so calm, like it's amazing, you have such a great attitude about it. And I was like, I just came back from this trip where I interviewed people who went through these very extreme circumstances, and they moved on with their life, and they talked about an earthquake or the loss of a limb like it was just another fact in their life that they had to deal with. So it kind of gave me the perspective that this is just another thing that I'll deal with and that I'll overcome. And I think for me, that's continued to resonate, throughout this experience of going through COVID and different forms of what lockdown means, and having different acquaintances and family members impacted by this. It's a tragedy, but I think having that knowledge of what other people have gone through have given me a different way of looking at it and experiencing it and managing through it. I know that we're short on time here. We're a little bit over, actually. I'll just maybe wrap by saying one of the other biggest things that changed for me is just the community of people with whom I now interact. It's fantastic that we are all interacting with each other on a regular basis. The stories of your individual lives have now become part of the story of my life. And I love continuing to interact with you on group chat, etc. And that goes for everyone who participated in the trip, but also some of the subjects. So we saw the image of Avani, who had lost a leg, and we saw scars on her leg. Well, she had a very gregarious and extroverted 14-year-old daughter who aspires to become a model, who I now follow on a regular basis on Instagram. So I just love being able to build and maintain those connections as part of the output of this program. So I know we're over time. I'm going to hand it back over to Shilpa to close the session. Thanks, Shilpa. Thanks, Shivani. Thanks, Kishan.
Thank you all
Thank you,
so
Michelle.
much, Michelle, Shivani, Kishan. Round of applause if we were in real life. This was really great. We could talk to you for much longer. I would love to hear even more of your stories, but we're a little short on time right now. That being said, we would love to have anyone who's interested in this project, in our work, in any of this to follow us along on social media. Check out our website. We are www.immersin.world. Same with immersin.world on Instagram and Facebook. We would love to do more events like this, but we want to hear from you as well. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We also have our book that is currently going through the printing process that we would like to share with you as soon as it's ready. So please stay in touch with us. Let us know if you're interested. If you have questions, we can always connect folks with each other and get those questions answered. And we hope you will join us on any future expeditions or projects. And with that, Gonna let Akshat take a second to say goodbye to everyone, and thank you for joining.
Thank you, Shilpa, Michelle, Kishan, Shivani. I have to also thank Phil Baruta, Bailey Sco. I have to thank Fred Pedroso. Whom am I missing? I'm missing Garth, Ray, and Sandra, who took wonderful pictures. Everybody and all of you who who believed in us, who believed in this idea, where when we presented to them and you jumped on this bandwagon to go to Bhuj, and most of you haven't heard about Bhuj, if not Kutch, and so you all joined, and then some of my World Bank colleagues with whom I work in Belize, they also believed in this idea of storytelling and using this tool. So I really I have no words to thank you all. But most importantly, please stay in touch, and by next year, early next year, we are planning to have our multi-series podcast on stories of resilience. And so hopefully you get to hear from us around then. Until then, please stay in touch. Thank you.